very carefully, and we should introduce these regulations.
I doubt it was the Noble Lord Brown's intention in speaking just now, but I think he just made a very powerful case for the Noble Lady Pinnock's motion. The Noble Lord set out just how extensive the efforts are in Northern Ireland to make sure people are aware of what's happening and how large the education campaign is. That is something that we're not going to have the time to see, and that indeed is the whole basis of the fatal motion to which I rise to offer the Green Group's support, that there will not be time. This is not a go away forever, this is a delay call. Now, I would like to ask Your Lordship's House to take your thoughts back to the contribution of the Noble Lord Renard, expert both in terms of the procedures of this House and also in terms of elections. And I think the Noble Lord made the point that positions on fatal motions tend to shift with party politics, with who's sitting on which side. So I particularly want to address remarks to those people who don't have a party politics, to the crossbenchers. And I think it's greatly to their credit that the benches are so full today, and it's great to see this level of interest and concern. And therefore I want to refer back, because we keep getting away from this, the fact that the Electoral Commission has expressed concern about the timeframe. The Electoral Commission has said that the introduction of voter ID needs to be accessible, secure and workable, and has said that those important considerations may not be fully met when this new principle is operated. Now, if we think about very cautious bureaucratic language, the official regulators saying they're concerned the rules they've set may not be met is something that should be a very grave concern. And of course, many have referred to, but of course, the chair of the Local Government Association, a Tory councillor, and I should at this point declare my position as Vice President of the Local Government Association, has said there is insufficient time in calling for a delay. Again, that is clearly not a party political position. That's a position of someone who's speaking as the chair of the Local Government Association in a non-party way to say this is not deliverable. So I just want to put two direct specific questions to the Noble Lady the Minister about the actual questions of implementation and what the government is planning to do. One of which I think it was the Noble Lady Minister who referred to the fact that the alternative identity card to be delivered by councils on such a tight time frame is to be free. Well, we all know these days that as soon as there's some kind of government thing that people are confused and uncertain about, there will be many fake websites will appear on the internet, paying for adverts, telling people, pay £10, pay £20. Criminals will take advantage of this confusion, the uncertainty. So is the government planning particularly to watch this very closely and stamp down on it as soon as possible? Because I'm afraid to say I think we can guarantee that that will happen. The other question is also about the publicity scheme. Now, most noble lords, with I think very good cause, have spoken about the at least 2 million people who don't own the relevant ID that they'll need to vote. But of course, many people will have the ID, but will not necessarily have them on have the ID with them on voting day. If we think about the obvious example of students, some of the universities I know, the relevant student term will start in February. People will very likely leave their passport at home because a student accommodation is not necessarily the greatest place to keep a passport. And then in May, they need to vote, and their passport is at the other end of the country. So will the publicity campaign start very soon to catch those students, to give them the opportunity to know that that's what's happening? And of course, you know, that's the case also. Maybe some people have a driver's licence, but they don't own a car. They're not necessarily going to carry their driver's licence with them regularly. So all of these things, I think we should count the people who are not just those who don't own, but also the people who don't necessarily have it on them. So I'm going to draw to a conclusion now, but I do just want to make one final point, particularly again addressed to our noble members of the crossbenchers. Many members of Your Lordship's House, and particularly I think crossbenchers, go to other countries to observe elections, to assist the spread of democracy around the world. Well, I would say that what we're trying to do here is defend democracy at home, making sure our elections are conducted properly. Now, I was in Brussels last week. I happened to be speaking on a panel that had a speaker from Belarus and a speaker from Hungary. And the chair, in introducing this panel, not from any of our three countries, said, well, these are three countries in Europe that have problems with or have falling apart democracy. That's how this country is being regarded overseas, and this is voter ID is one more step in that process.
Hear, hear. Noble Lords.